Hi guys, this week we are going to be making insects. So we're going to think about the basic shapes that insects are made up of, and we're going to go and collect materials outside to make them. Okay, so our target is I can use Wonder to go outside and find natural materials to build an insect out of. I can use Determination to make a real looking insect composition out of found objects. So you don't have to glue today, you don't have to draw today, guys. So for your plan, I just want you to look at a real insect on the computer or in your house if you have one or outside, and then see the shapes you need, and then go collect those kind of shape natural materials, okay? Then you're going to bring everything back inside and just get an empty space. And I just put a piece of paper underneath mine so I could see mine better. So you're going to use the materials you collected to build an insect or two. Okay, I made two different beetles and then I made a moth because I wasn't sure of one of my beetles. Make sure you take a picture of it and add it to Seesaw. Explain what characteristics of art you use to create your insect. So the materials you're going to need to go outside and select nature items to use for your sculpture. Okay, scissors and a piece of paper to work on. Explore different insects before you go outside. Here's a great place to explore. And this is the National Geographic Kids. And on this site, you can see different insects. So we have a cicada, a dung beetle, and we have a ladybug, a luna moth. Just look at the basic shapes you see there, right? Maybe you're gonna use flower petals or you're gonna use leaves. You can cut your leaves into those shapes you see there, okay? You don't have to use the nature items in the same shape they are already in when you collect them. So when you're done looking at your insects, you go ahead and you should check out this video because it's awesome, number one. But number two, um, it'll help you to think about what you need to do.
My name is Lucky Noah. We're going to make insects out of plants. Picking the material, it's always about finding interesting shapes, interesting colors, and also at the same time, it's also about cleaning our garden. So when you have a garden, you have to trim out some excess branches, anyways. So instead of just throwing them in the compost, I will use them for my arrangements. During summer, we have much more choice. As you can see, pretty much everything is dead right now. But there is still beauty when we look closely. I come back inside. Usually at that time, I pour myself a second coffee. And then by drinking the coffee, I just let my creative thought go. So the goal is to really be free. I guess creative freedom is what I was seeking. I usually start with interesting shapes. So then I will start selecting. I will start trimming out what's nice and what's usable. At that time, usually I have a general direction that I want to take. So I usually just pick an insect or just a basic shape, and I'll try to fill that shape up with materials that I just built. I am making the horn right now for my Japanese rhinoceros beetle. I usually try to do this without glue, without tape. There we go. And then I'll just start adding to it. But like everything in nature, sometimes it's hard to control. So controlling was never part of this exercise. It was always meant to in any type of branches.
So he went through and he built his insect, and he has foam core he's building on. That's how he got his antennas to stick up that way. The rest of it's just placed on the paper. Okay. So after you look at that video, now it's your turn. Build an insect and take a picture of it and add your photo as well as the insect's name to Seesaw. So when I went outside, I collected more than I think I will need. And I'm just going to lay them out on my table and get organized. Make sure you're working in a space that isn't going to make your family members or your guardians crazy. So keep it on newspaper or on your kitchen table or somewhere where it's easy to clean up. So guys, I just spent some time messing around with my materials. I have it all pulled out on the table and I decided to do a beetle. So things that I know that insects have, they have antennae and they also have 6 legs. So I made sure, they have an abdomen and a thorax as well, but I'm making sure I have those 6 legs on there as well as my antenna. I was extending the body and I was playing around with these little pieces here and it just wasn't looking right and it was actually getting really complicated as far as things moving around, so I stopped. So none of this is stuck together, it's all placed. So if you don't like that body on that first one, you can be like, well, I'm gonna try and change it. Maybe I'm gonna go for a really big beetle this time. One thing I did find, guys, I went out and collected stuff when it was really wet out. It just snowed, obviously, and I think you should let it dry inside for a little bit before using it. So I went ahead and changed my body type, but I still like those antennae. And I might go back in and say, okay, I want to add back in a thorax or some sort of detail on the back. I'm changing my legs because the legs that I was using are really actually becoming kind of a pain. So I'm using scissors to go ahead and cut them. I may actually cut them into shorter pieces so that I can have my legs bend. So I'm going to have one leg go out like this and then bend and go up. That way I don't have to deal with these crazy flowers that keep sticking to my paper. If the legs look too long, what could you do? Yeah, you could cut them right off. So I'm going in and I'm just adding some legs. I'm going to go back in, I think, now and cut them down a little bit more. So I just changed what I had there, guys. Hoping this focuses eventually. So I just changed my legs in and out. They are just placed in here. They're not glued. So you can continue to change it until you like it better. If you wanted to change this into something, let's say like a ladybug, you could go in and figure out how to add dots on top. If you wanted to find some nuts or berries to add those, or I could use my flower petals to go in and make my little dots for my ladybug. Or I could experiment with different things like that. You are going to make 2 different insects. And the reason why I want you to make 2 insects is that I want you to experiment and see which one you like. So right here, I made 2 different insects, but they are both beetles. And I just used different materials to try and capture what I made. One tip I have for you guys is even if you have a lot of one material, it might not be worth using because they're really tricky to work with. So I had a ton of these little things, these little brown leaves that are down there, and they are just so curled up, it's really frustrating to try and work with. I'll just show you a little bit of my workspace right here, guys. I used my scissors and I cut up a lot of materials that I didn't use, and that's okay, all right? So I made a moth on this one, and my sides aren't exactly perfect, and they keep on moving on me. And that's what I'm talking about as far as the materials that just don't sit the way I want to. I keep on moving around and layering it on top, and every time I move it around, it feels like it gets further from what I want it to be. So at some point, you have to say, it's okay. Make sure you label it. You can label it now and write the word. So I could write moth right underneath, or I could label it in Seesaw. Hey guys, once you're finished your insect, make sure you come into Seesaw. You're going to look at this page. If you've forgotten the directions, click right there. And make sure you open up this page. On this page, this is where you're going to add your artwork. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to click on this button and you're going to take a photo of your artwork or upload it from your computer and put it right here on this page. Then it says reflect. So then you're going to go ahead and use that microphone button to reflect about it. When you're done telling me about your artwork, don't forget that piece. Go ahead and click that green button to submit. You say, have a good week.
Have a good week.